You are live. Hey, what's going, guys? This is Dan from Crush This, a Monster Truck Podcast. Brad's here also going ahead and uh, share our awesome coverage here for you fans and do another episode. Thank you to High Octane Coffee. Just saw Joe Sylvester a couple days ago, and we are going to do a High Octane giveaway. I'm going to do my traditional giveaway, asking questions, and go on from there. And we have a gift package that we have from High Octane Coffee. Joey Sylvester, Gabby, all of them that work there. Thank you so much. J Concepts, once again, thank you, J Concepts, for the awesome stuff that they helped out with my RC event with the Hall Brothers Open House. Thank you so much again for what you guys did. It's totally awesome. Also, JB Scale Graphics for all your officially licensed merchandise. Same thing with J Concepts of Bigfoot, USA 1 Samson. JB Scale is also officially licensed by Bigfoot. Against the Grain, Overkill Evolution, Bad Habit, Obsessed, a lot of companies, and pretty soon could be a reptilian truck up north in Michigan that could be also there in the near future too. So it's pretty cool. Go check that out. Also, Justin Stories. This right here is going to be part of the gift too. This book is going to be in the giveaway from Justin. Take a look. Pretty cool. Awesome Christmas package we're going to do. And also, I'm going to do something pretty neat here that's going to be part of the giveaway. Back in 2009, Jeff Richards did a thing called Monster Truck Radio. And I won a contest in that form. And in that giveaway that we're going to be doing with Joe Sylvester's High Octane Coffee and Justin Stories is I am going to give this. Yeah, it says Dan on it, but it's Dan Rente signed it from Monster Truck Radio. It's with the Summit Racing Bigfoot Blue and the Summit Racing Bigfoot White. This is going to be part of the giveaway too. The giveaway is going to be announced. Sorry, I somehow have stuffage. December 14th. So the episode that we're going to have December 14th is the giveaway for it. There could be more prizes. This is going to add all up. So right now with High Octane Coffee, the card, the books, maybe some bodies, maybe an RC truck. I don't know. It's going to be huge. So I'm going to try to do what I need to do to help this raise it up. But thank you also again for the 5-star likes on iTunes, Spotify, also Facebook. Thank you guys so much for all you guys have done. Also, 6B Apparel, thank you for what's going on there. Some new designs. I think I'm going to make a was talking to one of the guys, Bob C. Chandler. And he has this thing called The Spread. And we may do that for t-shirt sales and stuff like that. We'll be interested. I'm going to talk to Brad about it and go from there for t-shirts and sales like that. They do that with Snakebite and some Bigfoot items. But look out for some new designs coming up in the future with Crush This, new logos, new different t-shirts, old school t-shirts, stuff like that. Go check that out. Back Channel Productions, Nick Davis. Go check out his work. He just recently posted a video, I believe, somewhere in Virginia, had toxic, buckshot, hurricane force, and storm damage. It was a pretty cool small event, North versus South, pro arena, tough trucks, stuff like that. So go check out his work. His work's coming up soon. He's been doing some teasers. Obviously, there's some big news coming from the projects that he's going to be doing there too. So be on the lookout for that too. And outside of that, I don't know what else I got, but for next week's episode, we're going to do a little bit of a twist here. We're going to do one of our RC episodes, and our guest for next week is going to be Tony CC from CCRC. He's going to be our guest for next week. So we're going to do some RC racing for you fans. If you're back in the solid axle monster trucks and stuff like that, go take a look at that going on. And so that's going to be pretty cool. So next week, CCRC. But outside of that, guys, I got the camera right here. So hey. But we're gonna get this ball rolling here and go ahead and start our wonderful intro and go from there, guys. So here we go.
This isn't your typical motorsports podcast. You're listening to Crush This, a monster truck podcast presented by High Octane Coffee and J Concepts. A show where we take you inside the minds of your favorite drivers, past and present, of the monster truck industry. And now, your hosts, Brad Shaw and Dan Chichagash. Buckle in. The show starts now.
Chad, there's Brad right there. So
I'm right here, Chad.
Yep.
How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the episode, as Dan said in the intro there. Thank you for everybody's support. It's good to be back on the episode. Last week we took the, there was Thanksgiving in the U.S., so we took a week off. And I was dealing with a bunch of school stuff as I'm starting a new course. So.
Just to let everyone know, one more thing. When I said about the 14th, Brad, there's going to be a package coming your way. And it's probably going to be involving one chip. So,
oh, no!
I bought myself that too. So it is in there, ready to go.
Oh,
but December
no.
14th, I'm going to let the cat out of the bag. Even though that's our giveaway, it's our Christmas special, Brad.
Oh, gosh,
no. So, and for you, you're not going to be drinking eggnog. And it had to be started. I was getting messages and pictures. One of them is Mr. Mike Hedman of eggnog. Eggnog this, eggnog that. Christian and Phil were sending eggnog stuff. And someone, eggnog challenge. Everyone's reading it up. So, Christmas is back in the wonderful world of Brad. So, Brad, we're going to do the one chip challenge. I never said you. I said we are.
Thank God that you're doing it with me, because if I had to do it alone, I don't know. I would have lost my mind. So you're suffering right along with me this year.
Yeah, but I'm not opening my mouth and challenging someone's hockey thing, saying my team is going to win, and then.
But let me say this though. Edmonton's doing amazing this year. Connor McDavid is an absolute just gem. The 4-on-1 against New York was just nasty, and then does it again with the Jets on a 3-on-1. So Edmonton is looking good this year. I just want to say that. So
we'll talk about that later. Anyway, you know how it goes. We hear it all the time. They have to finish. They don't finish. They're not known to finish. You know what I mean?
But this year might be our year. I say that every single year.
You hopefully knock on wood. But also talking about hockey news 1 sec. I know you're a hockey fan too there, Colby, right?
Yes, I am.
What's the same thing with the Boston Red Sox and the Pittsburgh Penguins?
I don't like either of them.
Good. Outside them being good, they're owned by Fenway Corporation now. So they just got bought. So, hey, it's okay. I don't like the Flyers or Capitals. So, what'd you pick? Would you pick the Blackhawks over the Penguins? You hate the Penguins versus the Blackhawks?
Oh, you're talking? No, Blackhawks are far worse than the Penguins will ever be.
All right, good. That's a good thing. So, let's get the ball rolling here, Colby. How you been? And let's talk about. We do a little bit of a timeline type talk. So,
sure.
Let's get into it. How did you merge? Because people know you're also a monster truck fan, and a lot of people know you're the guy behind the scenes of, some awesome footage on the Monster Blog. How did you get to the start of merging the two into one?
So, I guess it was about 2000, early 2007. I had gone to a couple of the St. Louis, Monster Jam shows just as, a casual fan. I loved it as a kid and had fallen out of really caring about the sport and decided to go, just kind of on a whim, and had a good time. But then, the interesting questions pop up. It's like the two questions that popped up were, first of all, where is Bigfoot? And second, when did Gravedigger become such a big thing? Like, that's how long my gap was in caring about what's going on with monster trucks. So, went online and, kind of read about the whole story and how things all went down, and found this message board called Monster Mayhem. And, there's a lot of people out here that really like this stuff. And, you're scrolling through that and found a guy actually out of Canada up there by the name of John Brown, who did some really cool old school videos. And have met John, great dude, but at the time didn't know anybody from anybody. And I thought, this is really cool, but I can do better, because this is what I do for a living, is video. And so I started making these old school videos, and I guess people really liked them. I mean, it kind of took off, and got a call one day from some guy with some website called the Monster Blag, and he said, "Hi, I'm Ross. Aren't you in the St. Louis area?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, I'm doing a show, right down the road from you, and my guy can't make it. So are you willing to shoot video for it?" And, well, yeah, why not? Yeah. You've got a camera, right? Yeah, I do. All right, bring it along. And that camera is sitting about 2 feet to my left. I still use it for certain things, but I arrive, and they're using a little handy cam, just a little home video camera, and I arrive with a Canon GL2, which is a semi-pro camera, because again, that's what I do for a living. And you can see their eyes get about the size of dinner plates when I pull this camera out, and they're like, "What? Who is this guy?" And shot that event for them, shot the next night for them, and I guess they liked what I did, because I have been doing it ever since. And that was November of 2007, so 14 years now.
You mentioned Monster Mayhem, which brings me back to meeting so many people, like knowing about yourself and everything else. Like, that was such a important website, I think. And now we have obviously the Monster Truck fans, drivers, crew members on Facebook there. Talk about the importance of Monster Mayhem and building those relationships, and finding out about the sport, because a lot of people are finding out about that today with social media.
Yeah, I mean, it really was. It was the center. I mean, that's where I met so many people that now it's funny, we look back and those are almost kind of now becoming like the old guard of the early media people, that were making these websites and covering shows and taking pictures and video. And some of those guys are now now running shows. They own promotions. I mean, like Elliot Miller was a guy that we were shooting video at the same time, and now he's got his own promotion that's super successful. And I love working with Elliot. He's one of my favorites out there, and just all the guys like that that we're kind of on that forefront of the YouTube and the online video and all of that. And now you see there's almost like a second wave of guys coming in that are just doing a great job with it. So, but Mayhem was kind of the hub for that at first, and you could get everything, video, pictures, and when an old school picture would pop up, I mean, everybody would lose their minds, and now that kind of stuff is just, I mean, it's everywhere times 1,000. But back then, like that was your source. That was where you got it from. And so it was vital to kind of the community that we have now.
I always thought that Mayhem and also the truckworld.com was always thing for information and stuff like that. So for me, I'm going to continue on with the Monster Blag storyline that you're doing. So you get into it, you do your first show. Now your formats have changed from the start to now. Now, did you you, Ross, and Chris ever thought that your guys' website would grow from leaps and bounds to a point where, you know, you had to do your own individual product in that dome of the Monster Blog?
I don't think we ever really thought about it in that way, like that it was going to grow to something that it eventually became. Just as I was starting, Ross was starting to do the very first episode or two of TMB TV. And almost immediately we kind of, saw the potential of splitting off to cover more shows. And then the bigger shows, we could all get together and, kind of shoot. So my first show was actually with Kyle Doyle hosting the show. And, first show for TMB TV at one of the jamborees while Ross was somewhere else another weekend with, I can't remember who he was working with in those, the early days, but we split off just so we could cover more. And then, when we got together, we would cover the bigger shows. And now we had multiple cameras and then, Chris comes on board soon after, within about a year of me starting, if not right around the same time. And so, shows like Miami, Oklahoma, we were able to cover with, 2-3 cameras and no one outside of, actual television with really, and it was just Monster Jam at the time, was doing anything like that. So, I was able to bring kind of my expertise into it. And then, Ross is a super talented guy. He's actually a very good graphic designer in his own right. So he was able to put some stuff together for that. And, Chris came along and Chris had this enthusiasm for this that is really hard to match. He wanted to be so good at this, and he wanted to host shows. That was kind of his dream. And a lot of his, his heroes that he would always talk about were the TV guys, the guys that, put on the shows. So, and that were the face of the shows. So, kind of those three things together, made for, one good cohesive unit. Well, then, we started developing these relationships with these different tours. And, at the time, Ross could, split off and go one place and do what we called the original series. And, Chris started with his action tracks and I started with, MT Unlimited at the time. And we were able to cover so much ground and, so many different shows by doing it that way. And that's kind of why it progressed to that point. And we each had our own ideas of what we wanted the shows to look like. I had, my television film background, so I wanted it to be a little bit more artistic, and Chris wanted more of a broadcast style presentation with a presenter and a voiceover and all of that. And, Ross already had his thing with what the original TMB TV was. So we were able to give, kind of three different perspectives on the same thing. And it really, provided this diversity of look, diversity of feel, diversity of presentation. And it really hit there for quite a while.
I think when you guys came out with TMB TV, at the time, the only footage we'd see from independent promoters and different shows were like, crappy cell phones or like digital cameras or the flip cameras. When you guys came out with TMB TV, it was such a fresh breath of fresh air for us, watching other promoters, because the only guys that really were doing that kind of production style, you said, was Monster Jam, the 2 and 3 camera shoots. So when you guys came along with TMB TV, that was such a good thing for a lot of the independent teams and promoters to get their name out of there. So, talk about, let's talk about MT Uncensored there, which was your baby. Talk about, because you mentioned you want to do a more artistic style. Talk about, your thought process behind that, because that show, of all three, that was my favorite show to always watch, because it gave you a different insight to the sport, I believe.
Yeah, I'm not a in front of camera person. There's a reason I stay behind the camera, and I think I've said that on multiple episodes of TMB TV over the years. A very few times the camera ever gets pointed at me, I say this is why I stay behind the camera. So I wanted people to kind of tell their own story. And so I might ask questions, but you never in any episode I've put together heard me ask a question, because I wanted them to tell their own story. So that very first episode of MT Unlimited was actually out at RMR Raceway in Salt Lake City. And one of the greatest races that still to this day that I've ever seen was the final round between Dan Runte and Jimmy Cretin. And the raw just passion and focus and frankly, dude, get the heck away from me. I'm trying to concentrate on this, that I got out of Jimmy Cretin that night, is something I will never, ever forget. Is, pointing the camera in his face, and you could just see it in his eyes. And he can tell that story on camera better than I could ever ask or try to explain. So that, and I played around with, the 24 frame rate, 24p frame rate. So it looked more like film, and did some different effects that were more like movie style stuff. And so it was kind of what I always had envisioned a monster truck show being, that nobody was ever going to do, except, it was up to me, I guess, to do it. So that's kind of where I put, where I came up with the idea and kind of how I implemented it going forward.
So for you fans, we'll find that on YouTube and we'll share it on our Facebook page of that show. Got a question from some new guy here. Well, I guess a long time listener, first time caller, Ed Horman. Once again, I'm gonna give a shout out to Ed. Thank you for taking pictures for the open house that I had a few weeks ago. The shots and the photos were awesome. He does a lot of that stuff for everyone, including, we're gonna talk about later, your RC group there, Colby. But he did a great job. So shout out to you, Ed. But his question to you is, what's one of your favorite moments you got into film?
I guess before I say that, Ed is really talented at what he does, a great photographer, and really one of my closest personal friends. I think this looks better than his, but yeah. Anyways.
There should be a beard off. The first one to cross the finish line, the loser.
Oh, yeah, well, I would be kidding, because I'm the worst RC driver on the planet, and you know that.
I don't know. But ask your question there.
All right. So favorite moment actually just happened. I guess it was last summer. Zach Garner we were in Springfield, Missouri, and Zach basically won his first kind of major event there. And that anybody that's been to that show in Springfield with 8 trucks, and they're always top-notch trucks, with Map Motorsports, who always puts on great events, one of my favorite promoters in the world. So if you don't know about Map Motorsports, you need to know, because they're one of the best. But Zach wins, and his dad, Jamie, who has seen it all, done it all in monster trucks, gives him the biggest bear hug, and I am right there to capture this moment. And having an 11-year-old son of my own, and knowing I do my best to be his biggest fan, and there was no doubt who Zach's biggest fan was in that moment, and it was his dad. And it was just one of the coolest, most touching, most amazing moments to be involved in. Not to mention that Zach just threw down one of the better freestyles you'll ever see on any show, let alone an independent show like that. And it's just, I can't, it's one of those moments you dream of capturing as a videographer, and to be there and be able to get it was definitely probably one of my favorite, if not my favorite moment I've ever caught on camera.
So one cool thing I think with TMB is you guys got to cover a lot of different promotions, from MLMT to MTC to the Toughest Tour. What are some of your favorite, the tours that you've gotten to cover,
Oh, wow. I mean, there's been so many of them that we've spent so much time with. As far as, I mean, it's such a, there are so many right now that I could point to. I mean, the Toughest Monster Truck Tour has been so open with us over the years. Honestly, even before I was even involved with their shows, and Ross would go to them with Danny, and those guys would go to those shows, and I was, at other events. They were putting on the best, and apologies to anybody who may disagree. I still think that's the best arena show that's going on right now. And it has been for quite a few years. I mean, probably close to 7 or 8 years are the best, small arena, hockey arena shows that exist. So they're one. I mentioned Map Motorsports. Those are, to me, I mean, they're always amazing. The huge lineups of just the best trucks out there. Monster Truck Throwdown, Elliot Miller. He does such an amazing job with what he does. He's very media focused, and I think that's one of the reasons I really like working with him is he's so, he's so media savvy, and he comes from that background that he knows what he wants, and he knows how to, he knows how to present things that make it look really good for what I do. And so that instantly makes it a favorite. Brian Wagner, All-Star Monster Truck Tour. He does such a great job. Always super welcoming to us. I mean, there's just been so many, but those are really some of my favorites.
Yeah. And, a couple other people are mentioning about this, but you get a chance also to capture history of monster trucks, not just today's, but the past.
Correct.
And one question someone brought to it about he wanted to know if you could talk about the Southern Sunshine episode in Lake Charles. But outside of that, I thought it's cool to how you, Chris, Nick Davis kind of preserve and make the history of monster truck come alive. To let people that wasn't born in 1987, was born like in 2007, learn about the past.
Sure.
Also how I thought it was also cool that drivers and owners of the past trust you with their pride and joy of footage of their pride and joy, let me say that, and trust in your hands on collecting and preserving, there's the word, preserving the history itself. So, I mean, that's a lot of information right there that I'm bringing out, but in a nutshell, I'm trying to bring out the history of monster trucks. And, I think that's awesome what you and Chris do for the Hall of Fame too. If you have a chance to go to the Hall of Fame, take it, do it. Because you get to see stuff you may not get to see online. And all it is just a television screen on a corner of a building. And you get to see that from 6 p.m. to 11 p.m. over and over again. But still, it's still pretty cool. And so, once again, I'm going off the road here. Sorry about that, but the history of it, man. How is that to you?
So I guess to start off with, that was actually another good friend of mine by the name of Sean that asked that question about Southern Sunshine. And you want to talk about old school and a cool story. Those trucks, the original owner, Mart, passed away in the summer of 1986. And those trucks were parked in the garage that they were based in, and that wasn't open for about 22 years until another friend of mine by the name of Matt Eisen was able to track them down. And we did a show. I did a TMB TV episode in Lake Charles, Louisiana, and we all piled in the car and went over to the garage and met Mart's entire family. Just amazing people, Glenn and his father, who has since passed away. Just amazing people, and had just the most fantastic day. Roller Jeff Richards was with us. You mentioned Jeff earlier. Matt and Sean and there's just this whole crew, and I have this great picture of all of us together standing in front of Southern Sunshine that I just cherish to this day, and have a copy of that I keep, and whenever it pops up and I'm looking at a copy of it right over here. Great day, and it was just another one of those preserving history. We were able to interview and talk about the history of the trucks, and that was kind of right before the Hall of Fame was starting to become more than just a pipe dream, kind of more of an idea. Right around the same time frame, Jeff Cook did a couple of old school shows up there at what became the Hall of Fame building, and we got to cover those and got to float in a monster truck, which was one of the coolest moments I've ever been lucky enough to have. And so that kind of, dovetailed into the Hall of Fame, which, we have seen so much stuff. To be able to, that first year, just walk into the legendary vault at Bigfoot and just walk into this room that was wall to wall VHS tapes and beta tapes and, 3/4 inch tapes and all the, just wall to wall, and to pull out a tape of, oh, this is, this legendary moment that everybody talked about, but nobody had actually seen. And to go from there and, Bob and the crew over there at Bigfoot were so, so trusting in me to take these tapes out of their vault for the first time in who knows how long and take them to my house and capture them. And, I guess I can tell this story now, 11 plus years later, that the very first rollover, the Quadzilla Jeep, we've all seen, partial clips of it. Well, they had the whole thing, and, pop it into the VHS tape and you hear that, or a VHS machine, and you hear that dreaded grinding noise.
Oh.
And when you have to take apart the footage of the very first monster truck rollover and patch it back together with tape to make sure that you can capture it digitally, that's the kind of thing that happens. And we've had it happen more times than I can count now over the years. And I know Chris Parrish the same way. He's had to take VHS tapes apart, and we're both experts at taking old VHS tapes apart now because, they've been sitting and they aren't permanent. They rot and fall apart. And so we do that. And now, we have so many vaults that people just sent us. I mean, I'm sitting right now with, I don't know, probably 75 tapes from the Map Motorsports people of their 1986, 87, 88, 89 seasons, just the whole season. And they were gracious enough to trust me enough to take that to my house and capture it and digitize it so that it's there forever. And that's the essence of what's so cool about the Hall of Fame is, we're preserving that history for everybody to see. It's not, it's not getting, and it's not, you got to walk that line where, people are very protective of what they have. And obviously, I mean, this is their history of a very big portion of their life that some of them, wouldn't be able to get back. And so you have to kind of have a reverence for it that if you just kind of treat it like something else, it can cause problems that you don't want. And to have people like myself, like Chris, like now Nick Davis, who's doing very good work with his stuff too, that you can trust with that to preserve the history of the sport is priceless, because so much has been lost. So many trucks, so much footage, so much merchandise has been lost, and you can't get it back. So it's a hefty responsibility, but it's one we take seriously and we also really enjoy.
One thing that I love that you do with the old school stuff, and I remember the first time I saw you do it was that video of Dan DeGrasso's Beast, that car crush, is you have like an old school logo, like the music, you make it feel retro. Yeah. Talk about, because I if memory serves me correct, you randomly stumbled upon that happening, right?
Correct. Yeah, we were actually out. My son would have been 3 or 4 years old at the time, and we were actually buying the mattress for his first big boy bed. He was moving out of his crib basically into a real bed for the first time in his life, and we had just ordered it, and we're driving down the road, and I saw a car show kind of up off in the distance, and there it was. There was, Dan's Beast sitting there, and I'm like, oh, that's cool. I haven't seen this thing in a while. I think it had been, maybe a year or two since I had seen it, and that was up at the Hall of Fame the first year. And I pull into the lot, and I walk up to Dan, and he's like, hey, how's it going? But I can't talk with you. I'm getting ready to do a car crush. I'm like, you're getting ready to do what? So they shut down the road there in front of wherever they were doing this car crush, and all I had was my cell phone. So that's all cell phone footage on there, because I do, maybe that makes me a bad videographer, but I didn't have all my equipment with me because I was, mattress shopping that day.
Yeah, but you also were one of the few now that have footage of the Beast crushing cars.
That's very true. Very true.
Without the technology of the cell phone that you had on your pocket, you wouldn't be able to bring something that way, which is proven to the fact that sometimes stuff becomes pretty cool spontaneously.
Yeah, and it was, and so I can't remember if I had done it before with the graphics package or if that was the first time that I had done it. We do a lot of work, but it wouldn't feel the same if you get a hold of some of this old footage or even new footage of current, of old trucks, to just slap our usual graphics package on it. So I actually went back and did a bunch of research into the old ESPN broadcasts, and I was and if you notice, the graphics package is the ESPN ones and not the not the it's the ESPN USHRA stuff, not the TNT stuff. I was always a USHRA guy. I liked the exhibition car crushes, so that's so I modeled it and spent days modeling and moving it around just a little bit and sampling colors. No, it's not quite right, and just to get their graphics package down. And I even snuck in some of the mistakes they make with their graphics just for the authenticity of it, because I wanted it to be, as close to what they always did as possible. So yeah, it was a labor of love, but now it's, it's just like any graphics that I have the chance to create with monster trucks or in my regular job, in television, is once you're done with it the first time, as long as you know how to do it, your work is easy from there. But it's that creating it that's the tough part.
Man, what can you say for the collection of like bringing old school to modern day car crushes? You could say you got the Beast. You also did the Frankenstein monster, and then you did and then obviously the other car crush would be the Lone Ranger, but that was at Toughest Tour. But still, you get a chance to see three great classic monster trucks, and two of them were still the original. The other one is a clone, but still the theme, it's still awesome to see that. And the doing the part, since basically I'm bringing this up from the 2020 the virtual tour, get a chance to do a lot of the footage for that to bring it up. Can you tell us a story about how that came about, or how the virtual, obviously with COVID and stuff, but how did that come up, and what did you guys do to come up with, man, we could do a car crash? How did you guys get connected with Cliff or all them?
Sure. So we had, Cliff had already been inducted into the Hall of Fame at that point. And actually, during his induction, he had talked about how he was in the process of restoring those trucks. And so, I guess through our contact through the Hall of Fame with him, we got in touch with him, and we knew that they were done, and we knew kind of the general vicinity of the country he was in, because it's actually not too far from Miami, Oklahoma, where we do that huge show every summer. And we had a couple of times over the years when going to that show, we'd actually gone to the Darrell Starbird Museum and seen the trucks, before they were restored. And I told you this story earlier, and I've told this quite a few times. The very first truck I ever saw crush a car was Frankenstein in the St. Louis Arena in February of 1986. And so, to have seen them, what they had become, it was cool to see him again, but there was a certain like, oh man, it really kind of stinks that these are rotting away like this. And then Cliff went and restored them, and they look beautiful. And so we knew it was close. And actually the truck was in the Joplin, Missouri area, which is only about a half hour from Miami, Oklahoma. And so we went up there actually the morning of the Saturday show, and he had gotten two cars out in a field next to his place, and just did this car crush, and it was surreal. Like, it was like you're floating outside of yourself, realizing that 4.5-year-old Colby in the St. Louis Arena would have lost his mind, knowing that all these years later I was going to not only be in the position to shoot the video, but climb in the truck. And the truck had some mechanical issues right after we got done shooting. Otherwise, I would have been able to drive the truck, and kaboom, that was just, but just to see him and see Cliff Starbird, who I grew up watching on TV, of course, Return of the Monster Trucks and some of the other shows, it was just surreal to hang out with all those people, and, got to meet Darrell. His dad, Darrell, is just a legend in the custom car world, and he's a great guy. And, it was a cool day. It was a neat day to be a part of. And also, like you said, the history of it, being able to capture something like that was just, kind of an honor and a privilege, and something, again, that I took very seriously at the time. So we had multiple cameras there, just treated it just like a TMB, TMB shoot, but it was special.
So you mentioned Miami, Oklahoma, which you guys with TMB are well known for the coverage from that event. Doing some funny intros. The Miami Vice intro is always one of my favorites. Talk about that event in particular. How big that event has grown. From when you guys first covered it to now.
Sure. So Ross did it a couple of years before I got a chance to do it, to get on board with the Monster Blag and all of that. So it was starting to take off a little bit. I that very first year, I think it was like a 7 or 8 truck show, which is still a good size, show, especially for an independent show. And I like to describe it as the last old school show. I mean, it's very modern in the action and the carnage. And there's a lot of carnage at that show. But it's an old fairgrounds horse track that has been running monster truck shows since 1986 or 87. I think 87 was the first show they did monster trucks, and they did pulling before that. It's narrow. It's a big, narrow, long course. It's they do straight line racing, and it's fast. It's crazy. I mean, I've seen more crazy racing wrecks there, racing wrecks, not freestyle wrecks, and that's a whole nother thing. But, racing wrecks are so unexpected and so spectacular most of the time. We've seen so many there over the years, and just awesome racing moments. I mean, it really truly is, to me, one of like the 4 or 5 bucket list shows that you have to get to. Everybody talked about the World Finals in Vegas before that moved, and that was on that list. I actually never had the chance to see it. RMR, before RMR got torn down, was one of those shows. The beach shows are that way. But Miami, Oklahoma, if you have a chance to get there, is, to me, it's like the outdoor, independent show. There's just nothing quite to that level. And it's intense, it's fun, it's old school. Like, the announcer's so much fun. Kevin, he does such a great job announcing that show. And the lineup is always just amazing. I mean, world-class competitors and big jumps and wow moments that you can't even count. There's just so many of them. And yeah, it's one you just need to get to if you haven't.
Now, I don't know if you do the Miami one, but I know you do Springfield and Wheatland. And you also do your own RC production.
Yep.
With MTRC. Yes, thank you. And you do a lot of video work for that. You also have your, I think it's called the Moon Launch Pad. I don't know. You joke around. I mean, but you do footage, and it's a different type of side of the solid axle RC monster truck world that people may not see. You see the Trigger King. You see the Showtime, and you see all these the Moonbase. Thank you. All these the Dan and them over there in the East Coast, but yours is just a little bit different. And explain to people about your idea of your RC, I guess, league, even because you also are a RC solid axle monster truck racer yourself.
Yeah, racer is about the most generous thing I think anybody's called me when it comes to RC, because like I said earlier, I'm the world's worst RC driver. But I had an idea with Travis Sutton, who is one of the most talented human beings you will ever meet. Basically, you tell him to do something, he's going to do it, and he's going to blow your mind and completely blow your expectations out of the water. He's super talented. On Facebook, he's Sutton Motorsports and Machine. Check him out. He makes parts for RC stuff. But the two of us were talking, and we were both running with Trigger King at the time. And I have my production background, and that's, that stems back to even before monster trucks with some other, other things that I've done. And so, I have more of a show mentality when it comes to things like that, and less of a competition mentality. Obviously, I mentioned that I was a USHRA, Arena Crush fan. I was more into the exhibition and it looking cool. So we got to talking about, trying to do something, and we knocked around a couple of ideas. Well, just about that same time, my family bought some hunting property that was an old farm, actually, out in kind of north central Missouri, and it had this just this barn. And I walked through the doors of this barn, and I knew right then and there that was the place this was going to happen. So we got to work building, trashing, coming up with ideas. And we basically built a scale hockey arena in this barn. It has an 8-foot tall backdrop that's 60 feet long that wraps around 3 sides. And it literally is almost perfect scale to a hockey arena. And we just built it from there. And the idea with MTRC is that we're less about the competition and more about making it look good. So, I take my camera, the same exact camera that I shoot TMB TV with, which is, a really nice JVC camera, and literally set it inches off the dirt. So it looks like, scale perspective of what a 1/10 scale cameraman would be shooting it at. And we try to make it as realistic as possible. Built dirt, scale dirt track, the ramps are scale. We bought up every Barbie car at every thrift shop we could find. We bought up collections of Barbie cars. Dan Wyatt sold us about half of our Barbie cars in one box one day. My poor wife saw 25 Barbie cars in our yard as I dumped them out of the box and just wondered what she had gotten herself into. And we take the Barbie cars and we melt them down and make them look like they're crushed. And so the idea is to make it as realistic as possible. We built a tunnel for the trucks to drive through, and it's got lights on it. And, we built, walls that look like arena walls with, sponsor banners. We even put up 2 computer screens to look like the video boards, and they run video loops on them, and we made 4 or 5 different ones of those for whatever class is running. So the idea was just to take the production background and make it as realistic and as cool as possible. And that was the whole point of it, is we just wanted, the most realistic looking. I mean, I can't tell you how much stuff I throw out that just didn't look quite right or didn't look like a real truck would do that or whatever, just to make the presentation as perfectly realistic as we can. And, we're lucky enough, like I said, to have Ed shoot pictures, and he finds the angles that looks like he's a fan in the upper deck, or looks like he's, in the pits shooting the, or whatever. And it just, it makes it, we just give it those little touches to make it as realistic as possible. So, these other groups are amazing what they do, but they focus on the competition, and I couldn't care less about the competition. I don't care. But I do care about it looking as realistic as possible. And I feel like, we've done a pretty good job of that.
Let me ask another question, Brad.
Yeah. I just,
okay. All right,
don't know what you guys are talking about.
Okay. So, so you also, outside of that, you do that, but you also do RC racing at the Map Motorsports.
Yeah.
How did that idea come about? And I know you have to kind of tweak your production a little bit differently, because now you have people watching. I mean, obviously you invite people to watch, but now you're having non-RC related fans, full-size monster truck fans watching your product. So how did that come about, and what do you have to do differently compared to a normal moon base, thank you, Ed, base show that you do monthly?
Yeah, we call the barn the moon base. Just I honestly, it was my son is a big Austin Powers fan, and he was talking about when they went, Moon Unit Alpha, Moon Unit Zappa, or whatever he says in my moon base. And I thought, man, it'd be hilarious if we started calling it that. And now that's what everybody calls it that. But no, for those so again, I mentioned Map Motorsports multiple times because I really do like those guys. John Darnell is actually the son of Neil Darnell, who started the whole thing. And now John took it over, and John's great to us. And so I asked, they were going to do the event at Lucas Oil Speedway there in Wheatland, Missouri, which is just a fantastic facility. One of the nicest facilities I've ever been to. And I've been to NASCAR tracks. I've been to NHRA tracks to shoot. And as far as professionalism, cleanliness, there aren't too many places on earth that are as good as Lucas Oil Speedway. And so I knew we had something we could offer. to help, the pit party the first time that they took over that show a few years ago. And so I talked to John, and he talked to their guys, and they loved it. So they gave us a little corner just behind the grandstands, and it's kind of the perfect spot because we get the backdrop of, of the trucks during pit party, because they bring them up onto the area right up by the stand.
Concourse. Yeah.
Concourse, yeah, that's the word I couldn't find. They bring them up there, and so we had this perfect backdrop. But instead of like what we do at the moon base is, we do 10 different hits to get that just perfect one. We treat it just like a show, like an actual monster truck show. So we format it out that way. We run it the same way. We have the timing of an actual show, and we have enough people that are experienced in that world. Ed's done some work like that. Josh Rhodes, who, I know, Cheech, is, kind of his own little legend of RC, of RC monster trucks. But, he's done some work with Monster Jam. So we have people that understand how to make a show flow. So we literally time it to the hour and a half to 2 hours that we have. And we, time every aspect of it and treat it just like an actual monster truck show. And so, so that's how it's a little different. It's still not the same kind of competition. Like we're show first. So we're trying to entertain the fans as more than we're trying to entertain the drivers. So we go out there and, like for freestyle, we just go out there, and it doesn't matter how many rollovers you have, flip it over, keep going, until your truck stops running, basically, because that's what those people standing over there want to see. So a little different mindset, but it's a fun challenge because it's in, it's out, it's, it's hectic, it's, it's fast paced. You don't have time to think, you just do. And they seem to like it. So, because we've done it now, I guess 3 or 4 years running. And
you're doing it more than just one spot. I think you did one race at Springfield too, correct?
Correct. Yeah. And Springfield is actually a 2-day show. That was the good part about Lucas, is it's a 1-day show. So we're in, we're out. We don't have to think about it twice. Well, the Springfield was a 2-day show, and we did a lot of damage that first night. And, it was like being at a monster truck show where we were all up, in each other's hotel rooms fixing trucks until 2:00 in the morning so we could run the next day. And it felt just like that, little less physically intensive, but it was still, you felt that same kind of pressure. And yeah, we did it at Springfield, and it was also kind of a similar situation. They've got an indoor area where people walk through and kind of, can walk right by what we're doing. And plus it's hot in Missouri in the middle of the summer, so it's a nice place to stay indoors and not die of heat stroke. And yeah, it was really well received there too, so it may be something we continue to do there as well going forward. And it was kind of another, like, maybe this is something we could continue to do as a few of these big outdoor shows during the summer, and just do something as part of somebody else's event to kind of add that little added attraction to their show.
So let's get away from the monsters a little bit here. And if memory serves me correct, you used to be involved with a little professional wrestling back in the day.
Yeah.
And I know that you are a fan. You attended AEW a little while ago when they were in the St. Louis area. Let's talk a little wrestling. Let's talk a little wrestling.
So what do you want to know?
So how did you get involved in doing some of that?
Sort of like with the monster trucks, I was a fan of it as a kid and fell out of it the same way. And it all kind of coincided. I also played a lot of hockey, which I know you're familiar with from way up there.
Yeah.
But then kind of as I got into that, I fell out of the monster trucks and the wrestling stuff, and was flipping through channels one night and found this wrestling I'd never seen before. And it was this promotion called ECW, and I'm like, what is these guys are nuts. And that was my first
ECW.
Exactly. And literally the first thing I see is a wrestler by the name of Tommy Dreamer go to elbow drop a wrestler by the name of Lance Storm, who is laid out on a ladder, and Lance Storm moves and Tommy Dreamer hits this ladder, and the ladder bends, and I'm like, this dude really just hit that ladder with his elbow and bent that ladder like damn near in half. And I'm like, this isn't what I remember as a kid, you know, liking the Ultimate Warrior and, you know, Mr. Perfect and those guys as a kid. This is totally different. I want to do that, you know, and as I was 18 at the time and, you know, spent, I don't know, I mean, how many weekends as an 18-year-old who didn't really want nor have much of a social life. I mean, I, you know, played hockey and then everybody else would go out to the party and I'd go home and watch, you know, movies or TV because I just didn't want to do all of that. But I started searching around and there was a local promotion here in St. Louis, Gateway Championship Wrestling. And they had a little school that was actually right down the road from where I live now. And I thought, oh, you know what? I'll give them a call. And, you know, went to one of their shows and talked to the guy promoting it. And I said, okay, you know, after the show, and I said, you know, what's it going to take for me to get, you know, start training with you guys? And he kind of looks at me, looks up and down and goes, well, I guess anything's possible, you know, and because, you know, that's what they do is they try to discourage you as much as possible. And so I said, okay, when do I show up? And he gave me the place and the time, and I showed up. And kind of around the same time I started with that, there was, you know, I had been doing just a dabbling in the old backyard wrestling stuff that a bunch of kids in the late 90s did, and got to meet this guy by the name of Matt Corkland. And Matt was kind of the guy that mentioned Gateway to me because he was starting to train there. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. I'll go. And so, you know, went through training, did a couple matches with them, and I wasn't really super into what they were doing. I kind of, you know, just left there and started doing a few things here and there, and, you know, with some other people that I had met while doing it, and ended up, you know, doing it for almost 8 years, where it was, you know, a lot of just weekends going to the VFW hall, you know, 20 miles up the road. And, you know, my buddy was running a promotion out of there, or, you know, a promotion. He rented the building and happened to own a ring. And, you know, it was just a bunch of that stuff. I never really made it big. Well, you know, never had really any desire to make it big. I was just having fun with it, but still, you know, took it seriously in that, you know, you have to be safe and you have to, you know, well, that guy, Matt Corkland, actually, you mentioned that I went to AEW. I got to see him wrestle as Matt Sydal. Over there. So Matt Sydal and I came up in training together in the same, you know, training school.
Evan Bourne, right?
Yeah, Evan Bourne, correct. Yeah, so if you're a WWF or WWE fan and you remember Evan Bourne, same guy. And if you're familiar with some of the higher end independent stuff like Ring of Honor, the name Delirious.
Oh yeah, I love Delirious.
He was in that same training group, and there were a few other, you know, guys that have, you know, done some stuff that, you know, not quite to that level, but those guys were both. I mean, we knew immediately they were going to be the big stars. But so I spent probably 6, 7, 8 years chasing that, and started my own little group here in St. Louis called SPWO, the St. Peter's Wrestling Organization, because we were based out of St. Peter's, Missouri. And, you know, it was just friends of mine, and, you know, that were doing it and wanted kind of a different creative outlet where we could do our own thing and we weren't tied to somebody else's show. And, you know, just beat ourselves to death. I ended up, about 2005, ended up crushing a disc in my neck doing it, and eventually down the road got surgery for that. So I'm part of that whole ladder neck club that so many of those famous guys are part of with a, you know, neck fusion. But yeah, it was really there. It was where the video production stuff came in, because I was, you know, the guy who knew how to use a computer the best, basically. And they were like, hey, can you put our videos on a website? And, oh, I guess I gotta learn how to build websites. And I, you know, taught myself HTML and, you know, the early website stuff from, you know, the late 90s. And, you know, in early 2000s, and started putting our videos up, and then started making DVDs to sell at the shows. So I learned how to cut. And we were back then, even, you know, we talked about the multiple camera angles with TMB. Well, I kind of cut my teeth with the wrestling stuff in that, where we had 2 cameras. We had a hard camera set, and then we had a guy roaming around the ring with a camera. And so that was, that was where the video production stuff came from, and also where a whole lot of limping and bad joints and a busted up neck and bad elbow and bad knees and all that came from, was, the pro wrestling world.
Is there any questions right here there, Brad?
Yeah. There's a comment from Travis Suillo, our good friend. Tell Colby, haha, because I got full gear and he didn't.
Yeah, they can't. That show is supposed to be in St. Louis, and they had to change the date of it because they accidentally double booked it or booked it up against UFC, and so they moved it to Minneapolis. And Travis got to go to that, and I got I still got 2 AEW shows in a week, but in Kansas City and in St. Louis. But he got the big pay-per-view, and yeah, he stole it from me, and yeah, he'll hear about that next time I see him.
So one thing I want to bring up is some people know about it, some people don't. PTC, Pro Truck Challenge.
Oh, yeah.
I want to bring that up because that's something that you were heavily involved in, and so was I, designing trucks, and yours as always were just the top notch. And let's talk about that with your graphic design and designing your trucks. You had, oh my goodness, pin up. You had that pig one, I remember, which is always so cool. Let's talk about that. With I know our buddy Sean Hunsaker, hope he's doing better. I know he was dealing with some stuff a while back. So talk about how you got involved in PTC.
He was starting it, and he started, hey, do you want to do this? And honestly, I was kind of not into fantasy sports. I've tried. I was just kind of like, eh. And then I saw that they were designing trucks, and I was like, now that I like, because again, that's always my draw to all of this stuff. Be it the wrestling, my draw was, I wanted to wrestle like my heroes, but I also wanted to be involved with the production. I wanted to, do the logo designs and the graphic design and all of that. And so that it was right up my alley. So, all right, well, I'll start creating some truck designs and yeah, it was just a way to kill hours, but it was a way to also hone skills, and that was really my draw to it. Was it was a fantasy monster truck league where you had to create a truck look, and okay, I'll create a truck look and all the other stuff, whatever. I don't care about any of that, but hey, I can make a truck, make it this cool looking truck, and one of them was the orange Dodge, and now I have that as an RC truck. So I actually built that as an RC truck. So. It was just where I got a lot of ideas that, and really it was just, like I said, it was honing skills. It was learning to, create graphics and to, create logos. And now I use all of that for everything from TMB TV to MTRC, to building RC trucks and designing logos for people and just all of that stuff. So yeah, it was, I don't really even know how to describe it other than, it was something that wouldn't have drawn me except for that one aspect. And then I ended up getting really heavily involved with it because of that. So, yeah,
like I completely agree with that. Like, that helped me learn how to design wraps and truck ideas and now look like I, did the Bigfoot truck and Pretty Wicked. I have more on the way. So I think that, you hit the nail on the head with that one. That helped, with skills that we have now today.
Yep, it'd be cool to have a t-shirt design, Brad.
I'm working on it.
You've been working on it. You've been working on it for 6 months. We need some income.
Well, I thought I was the only one who worked on things for 6 months that never got done.
So, man, any social media that people can follow you at there, Colby?
Well, I mean, there's there's the monsterblog.com, all of theirs, Facebook, Instagram. The website obviously is the kind of monolith that it has been for a long time. As far as MTRC, I mean, it's MTRC Racing on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Really starting to see the numbers pop on that, especially recently. I was talking with Chris Parrish a little earlier, and the most recent picture was actually one of his trucks, and just these last few have really seen numbers where I'm like, whoa, maybe people really do like this, but so that those are the big ones, the Monster Blog, and then that, and then, I can't encourage people anymore to check out, your independent teams, your independent shows. Toughest Tour pays a lot of my bills with all the stuff I do with them now, between, designing graphics for their their media boards during shows, running stuff from the booth now. This last year, I got to do quite a few shows up in the booth controlling the show, and that was a different little world to be involved in. But
so are you doing the full schedule for Toughest this year? So we'll be seeing
this is actually going to be about my 4th year doing a full schedule for them. I got to do the booth stuff because, with COVID and all of that, all the shows got pushed back last year. And so we did a lot of late year, or actually this year, we got a lot of late year shows that wouldn't have normally been. And so they kind of doubled up Elliot. And Elliot, does a lot for them as well, in addition to his own tour where, he kind of runs shows from up top. And so he wasn't available. So I had done it a few times, and they trusted me, and, got to do some pretty big venues, and pretty cool to not only, feel like the puppet master, but also kind of look out and see, the ribbon boards and the big screens with all my work on it. That's neat to see, all those people looking at your work. So yeah, definitely those guys. Just got done making a commercial for the DCT Power Sports guys with their new toys. So if you saw that commercial with their toys, that was actually my son, and it was shot over here about 10 feet to my left in the basement here. with a pile of play sand and a couple of prototype toys. So, just support those guys too, in addition to our stuff with the blog and with NTRC, just as much as you can.
One more I want to say is, ladies and gentlemen, coming in late, about an hour and 6 minutes late, is Mr. John Arnold from JV Scale Graphics. He just want to let everyone know that, we're about done here, bud. But yeah, that's cool.
and I see Buddha in there. No one will ever make this look good on camera ever. That's again why I stay behind the camera. I don't step out in front, because I have a face for radio and a voice for silent film. So
that's a good one.
That's nice. Yeah. Well, man,
and hi, John. Really nice of you to join us.
We're about to cut. But man, thank you for coming on. It's
thank
awesome.
You guys. Yeah.
This is actually to Brad. Any projects that you're doing here upcoming for people can find out, or what's going on?
You can go check out my website at bradshawdesign.com. I'm always working on stuff with Chris from 6B. Zane with the Renegade Tour and Buck Motorsports Park. I'm doing some stuff with them right now, and some projects that will hopefully eventually will be revealed live on Crush This for one of the teams that has acquired a truck over the last couple months. And
also some gear, hopefully. I mean, I may get gray hair before Brad delivers some of this gear out so we can see. Come on, Brad. Come on. Get some T-shirts, mugs. Well, I actually have to talk to you after this show. I got an idea that Bob showed me. It's a kid's show, John. You're right. Kids show. Capri Sun. For me, it's Dan Chichegosh on Facebook, Instagram. Follow me. I'm an RC racer too, so I do a couple stuff here and there. And follow my RC page, Dan Agosh RC. It's also on Facebook and Instagram too. And once again, I'd like to say thank you to everyone that joined my event 2 weeks ago.
Yes.
And hopefully we'll do stuff again next year. It's already in the works. Some brainstorming, and also already got people on board already. So we'll see how that goes here, but it seemed like a pretty good turnout, and hopefully one day or maybe someday Mr. Colby Marshall would be there also. So
it just you hit on the worst possible weekend for that. Definitely want to try to get up, because it looked like you guys had a blast up there. Cool location. I've been in their shop one other time, and it's a cool place. There's a lot of neat stuff that happens. I had just seen actually Mark and Tim there at the Hall of Fame, and that's another thing I want to give a shout out to is if you haven't been, go. And if you need any more motivation, so this right here is like some of the footage that you'll actually see us show there. So this is one of the tapes that I'm working on capturing right now that has, I believe, Barefoot 4 and First Blood on it.
Your cell phone should be blowing up right now.
Yeah. So anyway, this is the kind of stuff that we show there, and this is why you come to the Hall of Fame, because these cool old events are only seen there, and it makes that place just, you know, that much cooler. In addition to seeing all the old trucks there, to meeting all the people. I mean, all the names that I've had a chance to meet there. Same with you. The coolest thing was seeing Cheech do his broadcast live there this last time, and just seeing the names that he was surrounded with. And I sent him a picture of, you know, Chris Parrish, Gene Patterson, and Kid Rarig all sitting at the same table, and of course Chris being goofy as he usually is.
He's trying to break me character and stuff.
Oh, like he was.
And
yeah.
And Mr. Parrish thought it'd be funny to be a guest, even though his cologne smelled a little bit different. But I'll just leave it at that. His cologne was a little different.
I wasn't gonna touch it. I knew exactly where this was going, and believe me, the thought ran up here and then ran right to the back there. But
I was like, we're gonna go on with this, and
oh yeah,
he did a pretty good thing. I mean, pretty good a flow, and it was pretty good. But I mean, I thought it was pretty cool because Brian, your light bulb up, because, you know, I don't know if you saw my product, and it was pretty cool for you to join for this episode, and I thought, you know, it'd be pretty cool when I taught you at the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, it's just the Hall of Fame thing was just so. It's so cool, and the new building. That's what you know. Mm-hmm. I hadn't had a chance to get up there with all the events that they had done. It's amazing. Like, the new building is so cool. You know.
How did you like the new addition with the slot cars?
That was cool too. I mean, I'd only seen the video of that, and to see that in person and see how that worked. I mean, you know, the monster truck slot cars. How cool is that? You know. And those, you know, like I said, I'd seen those videos for years, but had never, you know, and you see it in person. It was just something you never expected to see, but it was totally cool to see, you know.
The only time you get to see Alan Pizzo line up against Tim Hall in a monster truck race was right there in that slot car race. 2 out of 3. That was pretty cool to watch. You know, you get to see all that, and then you, like you said, when you get the Hall of Fame, you get to meet your heroes that you never thought. You know, wondering in the back of your head, saying, "Whatever happened to Kid Rarig?" Well, he was there. You know,
he was there, just hanging out. You know, you know, I remember the first year I was always a big Rolling Thunder fan, and got to meet Jim Oldacre, and you know, he was just the coolest guy. You know, telling stories about how the time he fell off a tire out in Anaheim and basically got run over in the mud by his own truck, and you know, because the mud was so soft, he just jumped up and, you know, dusted himself off and, you know, climbed back up on the tire. You know, just the crazy stories that you hear there from guys. And, you know, I probably wasn't even supposed to tell that one, but here we are. You know, you see all these, you see all this video and these crazy stories and these trucks that were just so influential, or recreations of the trucks. I mean, that King Kong replica there is just so spot on perfect that you think it's the real deal. Same with Hess's Barefoot. That thing is just gorgeous. Or, you know, even to the ones that are the real deal, like Goliath or Taurus. Oh my gosh, the Vodders guys did such a great job restoring that. Same with Equalizer. And, you know, I had seen Equalizer run in some of its last shows, and now to, you know, see it there in the Hall of Fame restored is just it's such
that's the same thing with Taurus 3 too. You probably saw a lot of the last shows it ran as a competition truck.
Yeah.
And, you know, to now what they are at, I mean, it's shout out to the Vodders and all the guys who have either rebuilt their trucks, I mean, put together trucks, or made clones or rebuilt. Shout out to those guys, because if they didn't want to, they didn't need to do it, but they did it because they love it, you know.
And that's the other cool thing about the Hall of Fame is watching Mike Vodders spend insane amounts of money during the auction at the end of it. It blows my mind. Deal Wilson too. Holy cow, those guys fight each other over the banners and all that, and I just sit back and, you know, on this video producer's salary, just sit back and I'm like, they just paid my mortgage for half a year battling over this, you know. over a banner, but they love the place and they want the place to succeed so much. And that's Vodder's restoring the trucks, them participating in the auction, Chris and I doing the video work, you doing the podcast there was just such a cool addition to have something live coming out of that, the work that Jeff does, and putting it together that no one will ever see, but the man runs himself ragged, and Ross and Alan and all the people involved up there, and now Chris and Jim, just everybody there just has done such a knockout job with that place. And if you go anywhere, go there. It's worth it.
Yeah. Man, it's awesome. Thank you so much for being on.
You, guys.
Finally got you on, and it was it was a good time. I haven't laughed in a good while, so
No, you gotta have a good time doing this, because if you don't, what's the point?
The fun thing is, if you're not laughing, you're not living. So I always put that as my deal.
Well,
but
my pleasure to live a little bit with you guys tonight.
Thank you. It's once again, thank you so much.
And John, come on, man, dude, come on.
Clobbering time.
I was waiting for it.
You clobber away. I can't do that stuff anymore.
Oh my! But once again, fans, thank you so much for being on. Next week will be Tony from CCRC. We'll do a little bit of Arsenal talks. So we haven't done that for a while. The last person I think was Josh Rhodes, but it's okay.
I was a little appetizer for that, but Tony's awesome. You got to check out Tony. He's worth watching. He's a great dude, and he's stories for days with that guy.
Speak about old school stuff. People haven't. I'm not wearing my official Crush This memorabilia or T-shirts or crew shirts. I went to my famous old school. I normally wear the Kodiak, but this time I am wearing a Golden State Promotions T-shirt. So
yeah, I noticed the poster over your head there. The old skull. Is that a Skull Bandit poster over your head there?
Yes, sir.
Nice.
Old
nice.
Skull Bandit. My first ever monster truck I saw in person was that at the Chesapeake Jubilee. And it's funny, people are like, "Oh, you're from Chesapeake, so you saw Gravedigger." No, I didn't see Gravedigger in person until I think like 92, 93 in a Hampton Coliseum show. This truck was the first truck I ever got my butt on a tire, sitting on the rim. My dad lifted me up to see inside the cab of it. It was a Skull Bandit 2 monster truck. It was parked right next to the red Virginia Beach Beast.
Oh, wow.
Cool. There's a huge car show there. The Jubilee, they have Ferris wheels and stuff like that. They have a huge car show there, and them two were there.
Nice.
I remember correctly because I had a little poster card, and that was like a Skull tent. So I guess they were promoting chewing tobacco, but it is what it is. It was the early 90s. It was all right. And then the Virginia Beach Beast was promoting the Jubilee. So it was the red one with black truck, and I thought that was pretty cool. So that's why I always like that truck in general. But I feel like
I should have picked a cooler backdrop, like something monster truck related instead.
No, but you got Godzilla. Look at that. That was free. If anyone's a Godzilla fan, right now on YouTube, it's free to watch. Just watch a couple ads. Are the original Japanese, not dubbed English, Japanese films from the 70s. Yeah. So like Godzilla versus Mega Godzilla, Godzilla versus Gigan, Godzilla Rises Again or something like that. They're all in the Japanese. So go ahead if you're a fan of that, go check that out. And because I'm a huge fan of that stuff. So I even watch a Rodan a time or two. But and off topic. The first time I ever talked to you was through Mayhem, and I made you laugh for a good minute. If you remember this, the first thing I told you was said, in a normal situation, I asked myself, what would John Moore do?
Well, we found out what John Moore would do up at the Hall of Fame. I'll tell you what, that's one entertaining dude, isn't he?
Yes,
Holy cow.
Yes, indeed.
And that's That's another cool thing about it is like the stories we have from that hotel lobby at the Hampton Inn in Auburn, Indiana, of just sitting there. And like this time it was John Moore and Gene Patterson, and then myself, Chris, and everybody's wives just sitting around. And holy cow, like the stories that you hear that, you know, both repeatable and not repeatable are glorious from that weekend. Yeah. So
yeah, it's a cool thing about the Hall of Fame too. If you get a chance to stay at any of the hotels after the program, or you need to go check out the lobby. Different hotels have different people that went there, and you know, Ezekiel.
I'm laughing. Damien just brought up. Do you remember the chat night on Mayhem every World Finals night?
Yeah.
God.
Holy cow! You want to talk about Wild West?
Oh man,
We had some crazy times in there.
The World Finals chats.
Yeah, see, that's something you can't replicate with a Facebook group. Those days are long gone. And partially good that they're long gone because a lot of stupid stuff was said in there that probably didn't need to be repeated. So
yeah, with that, you know, it's we keep on moving forward, and the more we move forward, the more a door opens. So before it was like this, now it's like this. Everyone can see. So
there, I got him. Finally got him.
Hey, there's the RC superstar right there. Josh Rose's rival, Alex.
Yeah, Josh needs to watch himself. Alex is coming after you.
Yeah. But once again, thank you so much for being
Thanks,
on. It's a good episode. We got an hour and a half out of that. That's a good episode. It's better than 45 minutes.
Any time, man. I had a blast with you guys. I had a blast with everybody over in the chat over here. We're kind of reading what they had to say. And yeah, what is your name? Yeah, see, I knew Cheech would laugh at that. Tony.
Tony. And then you see Heidi.
Yeah, Heidi's like, no.
Hey, we got a Canadian.
Another Canucker. Yeah, let's go.
Sean says howdy from Canada. So look at that. Canuckers unite.
Howdy from Alberta, Sean.
But once again, thank you so much for being on. Everyone, thank you again. Thank you to Joseph Esther and High Octane Coffee, Jason and Fred from J Concepts, John from JB Scale Graphics, and Bex. Shout out to Bex. And also Chris from 6B, Nick Davis from Back Channel Productions, Justin from his company, Justin Stories with the making tracks. There's going to be, yes, indeed. Once again, December 14th, both of us are going to go through hell. But you become the winner, and you get a free giveaway. So we can do that. So we are going to pick a question out the week beforehand and go from there. So
some people just want to watch the world burn, Cheech.
Or just likes to use you as a form of entertainment because they have nothing else to do.
Hey, I don't care as long as I make people laugh. That's all that matters to me.
Yes, indeed. Your eggnog episode was probably one of the best episodes that we had. We never had so many people watching you throw up.
This is going to be worse because this is going to be worse. So,
well, we're going to be both in it. So, I'll get my milk and you get your eggnog, and I'll get my piece of bread, and go from there. But
then you're gonna see a 300-pound, 6-foot-tall man crying on the floor in the fetal position.
We should leave that and be like a 12-hour ASMR thing. Anyway.
We've all been there.
12 hours of raindrops, 12 hours of Brad's sweet tears on the floor.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, but we're in this together, Brad.
Yep.
Put your stick on the ice. Remember from the Red Green show.
If people don't find you handsome, they'll at least find you handy.
You can stick on the ice.
Keep your stick on the ice. But like I said, we're going to do that together. But we'll figure out a way. But we are going to do a giveaway. So be on the lookout for that. But I'm Dan Chichagosh. That's Brad Shaw. Like they say, keep the rubber side down and the shiny side up.
Bye!
Peace.
And